After I gave Poison Ivy the ability to deactivate her poison powers using commands, she transformed back into a regular beautiful human woman with green eyes and red hair, and she still looks like Megan Fox in Whistle, and said hello good looking, and she said thank you so much, now I won't accidentally kill someone with my powers. And I said yes baby, I thought you might like this ability since I know you still have a hard time controlling your poison powers. And she asked could I do this indefinitely, and I said yes ma'am, I did this to help you out, so now you can touch whoever you want to without killing them. And then she walked up to Zatanna Zatara and she touched her and she said oh this is great, and Zatanna Zatara said she really does look like me, but her hair is red and her eyes are green, could we be twin sisters, or maybe we have the same father or something like that. And then Poison Ivy said no, we have different parents I'm sure, but I could look into it to check it out to see for sure. And then Poison Ivy said I don't want to have sex with you yet because it would feel weird. And then Zatanna Zatara said gross, I'm not a lesbian. And then Harley Quinn said not yet, but you might warm up to it soon. And Zatanna said Bruce, is there a room I could stay in here by myself? And I said yes darling, and then I showed her the room in our apartment, and it's made out of unbreakable metal so no one can get in, and this room has everything in it you need. And she said thank you Bruce, and I said you're welcome darling. And then Zatanna Zatara said I am not homosexual and I don't want to have sex with those weird women. And I said I understand, but they are bisexual, they love both men and women, and it's okay with me if you are the same my love. And I smiled, and Zatanna said I'm not Bruce Wayne, I am straight, and she had a very repulsed face. And I said it's okay, I understand it's not for everyone, I'm actually happy to know that some people still have great morals like that, but just because you love the same sex sometimes doesn't mean you're a terrible person. And she asked have you ever loved men, and then I said well in other lifetimes I was reborn as a beautiful woman, and yes I did actually marry more than a few handsome men that were very good to me. And she said really, how fascinating, so you died? And I said I never truly died, I am reborn like the phoenix, in other words I have lived many different lifetimes. And she said now I understand why most of us haven't seen you yet. And I said that's right, there's actually different types of immortality, there's my kind and other kinds of immortality, and please don't ask me which kinds because that would take me a while to explain, but to explain a bit, there's reincarnation immortality, and then there's indestructible immortality, and there's even undead immortality like vampire immortality for example, if that helps. And she said fascinating, and she said so you have reincarnation type of immortality like a phoenix, right? And I said yes ma'am, a lot of you humans don't realize this either, but you're actually the same souls being reused, you're probably all actually reincarnated, you just had your memories erased. And she said well that's a fascinating concept. And I said well I might actually be right about every human being reincarnated, because why would your creator try to fix something when he could just run the whole on autopilot mode forever? And she said yes you have a point, actually that would make sense. And I said yes ma'am, well that's enough about that, let's talk about this room. It's basically built like a small apartment, you have a kitchen, a large shower room, and a nice bathtub, and there's even a gym, so I hope you like, and there's plenty of good food in the fridge. If you want anything to eat you let me know, if there's anything else you need darling. And she wait, stay in here with me a little while please. And I said okay, and I copied myself, and she said okay never mind. And I said I will see you later Zatanna Zatara, now if you don't mind I have other things to do for now. And then she said I still want you to stay in here with me, and I said okay fine I will. And then I made love to her for a few days, and then I went back to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and I said I must take a shower, I haven't had one in a while. And then Zatanna appeared to me in the shower, and she made love to me in the shower, and she finally asked me to marry. And I said well this is a first, no woman except for Harley Quinn asked me to marry her, interesting, but I love it, I accept your proposal. And I say I do. And then days later I married Zatanna Zatara, and I said to myself no more women after this, because even though I'm a good husband and I spend time with all my women I truly love Harley Quinn, and she is the woman I love the most. A day later I spoke to Raven and I decided to make love to her again, and I enjoyed it like always, and I remembered why they actually formed the Dark Justice League, and I asked Raven has Waller spoke to you lately?